Alrighty, welcome to Math 140. So as you can see, we're looking at our Lamaku homepage here. And so what I want to do in this video is just give you a brief overview of what our Lamaku website looks like, the course syllabus, our course schedule, and the weekly modules that come with that, as well as our online homework platform. So we're going to be using Pearson MyLab Math for that. So the first thing that I want you guys to do is click on this Welcome to Math 140 module. This is where this video is going to live. So what we want to do first is register for MyLab Math. So again, this is going to be where we find all of our course content. So the e-textbook, our homework, quizzes and exams, and so on. Now, registration for this course is going to be open on July 3rd. Now, in order to register for this course, we're going to follow these instructions here. We're going to open Lamaku and click on the Vital Source module that we see in the left-hand navigation menu here. Then we're going to follow these instructions. We're going to click on Launch Courseware and then open MyLab/Mastering. This is going to take us directly to Pearson MyLab Math. And we will be doing that in this video. What we would need to do after that is review the course syllabus, and please let me know if you have any questions on that. Now we're going to be following along with the course via the course schedule and the weekly modules that we see on Lamaku. All of this is going to be in the left-hand navigation menu that we see here. Another thing that we need to note is we need to be sure to complete discussion 1 by Sunday, July 12th. This is going to count as your participation verification for the course, and we will talk about this when we go through the syllabus. And this also counts as part of your grade. So the form can be found in the discussions tab, and it's also going to be found in our first weekly module. And I will show you guys exactly how to access that. And then lastly, you can always view your score at any time during this course by clicking on Gradebook in MyLab Math. So first things first, let's follow the first instruction. Let's look at our Vital Source module. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on Vital Source here, and then you're going to click on this blue link that says Vital Source Windward CC. When you do that, it's going to take you to this bookstore page. You're going to click on Launch Courseware, which is then going to take you to this Pearson page. And then you want to click on Open MyLab and Mastering. And when you do so, it's going to take you directly to our Pearson homepage. So that's what this looks like here. When you look at the course home, you're going to have a calendar, and it shows you all of the assignments that are going to be due. For example, on July 6th, you see that 27 plus assignments here. That just means all of our assignments are going to be open on that day. But then if we look at July 10th, that's going to be our first several homework assignments due, and then you can follow along with this calendar throughout this course. So as you can see, these are the current assignments that will be available on July 6th. You can also just look at these assignments by clicking on the assignments tab on the left-hand side. And as you can see, nothing's available yet because again, it's going to be available on July 6th, but this is where everything's going to live. You will have access to all of the assignments, including the final exam on the first day of this course. So you're more than welcome to work ahead if you wish. And then lastly, you can always click on Gradebook here to see your overall grade in the course. This is my current grade in the course, so that's why it looks like that. But yeah, you can keep track of it by clicking on that tab. So the next thing that we'll do then is we'll look at the course schedule here. So everything, all of the due dates are already outlined in our course schedule, so I highly recommend keeping pace like this. All of these due dates are hard deadlines, but like I said previously, you can work ahead if you wish. So something to note about our course schedule is that typically homework assignments are always going to be due on Fridays, and then discussions and quizzes are going to be due on Sundays, as well as test reviews. And so tests are going to be due on Fridays along with our homework. So that's what you can see here. The first due date, 7/10, that's going to be our first homework assignment, and our discussion is due on Sunday, 7/12, and so on. So this is our course schedule. I highly recommend opening this and making sure that you're keeping pace with the course. And lastly, on our last week of this course, we only have the final exam review and the final exam due, which is nice, but something to note is that they're both due on Thursday. This is because that is the last day of the course. So please keep that in mind. All right, so now let's dive into the syllabus. So this is going to essentially be our contract for this course. We have lots of information here. So again, I'm just going to do kind of a high-level overview. This is our WCC mission statement, and then our instructor information. So this is all of my information here. You can click on that mathematics blue link. I do have an office on campus, but I am going to be doing office hours in person, or sorry, on Zoom. Not going to be doing them in person unless requested. But my office hours are going to be Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. via Zoom and by appointment. So that window there is just going to be drop-in hours. You can just click on that link and show up, but we can also set up different times if you need. Now, email is listed there, although email through Lamaku is preferred, and you can do so by, if we look at the top menu here on Lamaku, you can click on that envelope icon and then enter my email. And that way we kind of just keep track of all communications through Lamaku. Additionally, asking course questions, you can't just email me through Lamaku, but we can also use the Q&A Lamaku discussions board for all general course questions. This way it kind of gives an in-person environment, and you guys can all talk to each other as well. And I'll go over the Q&A discussion board after we talk about the syllabus. All right, so there's other really important information here, so I highly recommend reading through it all. This section is our course overview, so it kind of just describes how our assignments are going to be broken up. All right, then we have our regular substantive interaction here. So online courses at Windward Community College follow the college's RSI definition to ensure quality instruction. So there's going to be lots of communication in this course, and you can expect me to communicate with you through this here. So I will be posting announcements every Monday and Friday with general information, due dates, and just important reminders for that week/module. Weekly modules are going to be posted in Lamaku, so you can find a lot of information there. I will also be giving feedback on your written work for assignments, and I'll talk about that in a moment. We'll also be having 3 discussion topics throughout this course, and again, the Q&A Lamaku discussion board and email are going to be other ways that you can communicate in this course. Again, I do have the Zoom drop-in office hours. And then something else that I wanted to talk about was the participation verification that I mentioned when we were looking at the welcome module. So discussion 1 is going to count as your participation verification. And campuses are required by federal regulations to verify the participation of students in their classes. So this is just something that we got to do. So just make sure that you submit the discussion by the due date and you'll be good to go. Otherwise, if you do not do so, you will be marked as not participating and be dropped from the course. Okay, so please let me know if you have any questions on that. Here's some more important information about our course. So we have the catalog description, the student learning outcomes, and then the required materials. So our textbook is MyLab Math via Pearson. So that's what we looked at the beginning of this video through the vital source link and all of that. All right, here's some other important information on technology and our learning management system. So that is Lamaku that we're using. Now here's the grading policy. So everything's broken down here. Please review that and let me know if you have any questions. And the next thing that we'll talk about is what each of these assignments are. So that is going to be in this section here, the course format and assignments. So there will be one cumulative final exam on MLM on Pearson MyLab Math. It's going to be timed 3 hours, and you will have 2 attempts on the exam with the highest score being kept. Now, handwritten work is required to be submitted for your best attempt on the final exam, as well as the tests and the quizzes throughout this course. Without such supporting work, the score in MyLab Math will be reduced by 50%. So please keep that in mind. Make sure that you submit your work through the assignments tab in Lamaku on time. No late exams, quizzes, or written work will be accepted. So there are going to be 2 tests similar to the final exam. They're going to be timed and handwritten work is required to be submitted. Similarly, for the quizzes, there's going to be 3 quizzes through MyLab Math. These are also timed and you need handwritten work to be submitted. Now, on the quizzes and tests, I will be providing written feedback. So on the test, everyone's going to get written feedback on the problems that they missed. And then for the quizzes, I will be providing written feedback on students who scored below the class average for those specific quizzes. And that will change for each quiz. So after the first quiz, we'll kind of get a good idea of what that looks like. Okay. MyLab Math homework. So this is computer-based homework that's going to be due that should say Friday night. So let me go ahead and update that. But be sure to look at the weekly modules in the course schedule. That's where we have all of the due dates outlined. Lastly, there's going to be 3 discussion posts throughout the semester. So this is going to be on Lamaku's discussion page, and I will also go over that when we look at the weekly modules. And then here is our course schedule. I copy and pasted this into that module that we looked at. That is just the course schedule, so you don't have to scroll all the way to the bottom of the syllabus to look at it. So it's just the same thing that we saw on the module version. Now there's some other important information here. We have some academic integrity, student responsibilities, and other just additional support. So please be sure to read through all of this and let me know if you have any questions. Also, if anything major that is updated, you will be notified. I will be updating this due date for the MLM homework, so don't worry about that. That's already outlined in the modules. But yes, please review that and let me know if you have any questions. So next we're going to talk about these modules. So that's what I have here, just week 1 through 6. So each week is going to be outlined. So in the first week of this course, we're going to go over chapter 9 from our textbook. And there are example videos, PowerPoint slides, and homework all on MyLab Math. You can find this by clicking on the assignments. And when you go into the assignments, all of that stuff is going to be linked there for you. But I do also create my own videos on these topics that you can review. There's some practice problems on there, so just extra materials for you to review as we move through this course. And those videos and practice problems are going to be posted or linked here under the practice problems column that you see here. So those will be linked by the time our course starts. So as you can see in the module, like I said, our due dates are all going to be outlined here. So the first assignment that's due is our first homework. So that'll be sections 9.1 through 9.4 from our textbook. That'll be due Friday, July 10th at midnight. And then the following Sunday, July 12th, our first discussion is going to be due. So everything's linked here. So I can actually click on discussion. I don't know if we'll be able to see it since it's not going to be available till the first day of the course. Okay, so we can't click on that yet. Let's go back here. Because it's not going to be available till July 6th. But we can also find the discussions by clicking on the discussions tab here. So our first discussion, this is kind of an intro. We're going to see our second and third discussion as we move through this course as well. We also have our Q&A Lamaku discussion board. So this is not graded, but this is just a place where this is an additional resource for this course. So you can look at it that way. If you have any MyLab Math homework questions, you can start a thread there and everyone will see what you say. So please be sure to be respectful, look at the course etiquette listed on page 8 of this syllabus. But any other stuff, general questions, anything that you guys have here, please go ahead and post and we can use this as another course resource. If you would like to have any private communication with just me, please use email. Do not use this discussion board. All right, so let's go back to our modules. We just looked at week 1. Week 2 is much of the same. We have our homework due Friday, July 17th, and then our first quiz and our first test review, which counts as our homework, is going to be due that Sunday, July 19th. So for the quizzes and the tests and the final, you have to submit written work. And so I have everything linked here. Again, it's going to look like that right now because we haven't started this course yet, but we can also just go straight to our assignments tab. And this is where we can go ahead and submit our written work for the quizzes, the tests, and the final exam. So the due dates are all outlined there. Once this becomes available, you'll just go ahead and click on that. It will be a clickable link, and you need to submit your written work as a single PDF file. There's a lot of issues uploading different file types in Lamaku, so please be sure to make it a single PDF file for full credit. All right. Yeah, so each module looks pretty much the same here. We have in week 3, our first test is going to be due. You can submit your written work by clicking on the assignments tab or using this link. And then also our discussion is going to be due. And then again, I will be linking the video, the practice problems, and all of that stuff here. All right, so that is pretty much it on the Lamaku side. We already looked at Pearson MyLab Math. Please let me know if you have any questions on the discussions and assignments. The last thing that I wanted to go over in this video was to just show you how to make sure you're receiving notifications in Lamaku, because as I mentioned, I will be communicating primarily through announcements. So that's what you'll see if you click on our homepage here. All of the announcements will be here on the right hand side of our screen, and they will pop up as I make them. But something to note is that if you don't have your notifications turned on, you might not get an email about them. So what you can do is click on your name and then click on notifications when you're looking at your Llamaku homepage. We'll scroll down here and make sure that your contact method is correct. Make sure it's your hawaii.edu email. And here's a list of the instant notifications. So there's a lot here. There's activity, so new comments from others on a post. There's announcements, assignments, a lot of stuff, a lot of new content being updated. The main ones that I need to make sure are checked for this course is announcements, because again, that's the primary way I'm going to be communicating with you. I also recommend checking the assignments as well. This will remind you that you do need to submit written work for your quizzes and tests here. So Llamaku will give you an email notification on that. And then similarly for discussions, because we are going to be actively using the discussion posts throughout the semester. So just make sure that you're staying updated on it. And we are going to have, some engaging discussions with other class members. So it is good to have this checked as well. So once you check these boxes, don't forget to press save in the bottom left-hand corner, and then you're good to go. So, all right, thank you.